Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be trying out the Strathmore Watercolor Travel Journal. Hey guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelly and I do a bunch of art related content here on YouTube. In today's video I'm going to be doing a review of the Strathmore Watercolor Travel Journal. So I bought this sketchbook, I want to say last fall, and unfortunately I haven't been able to test it out until now. Originally I had planned for this to be my Inktober book, but there were not enough pages for me to complete all 31 drawings. So without further ado, these are the things that I'm hoping to review. I'd like to hit paper quality, the price, durability, page count, and enjoyment of use. Okay, so the details of this sketchbook is that it is a 140-pound cold press acid-free watercolor paper. It is a 5x8 sketchbook, and it has 20 pages in the sketchbook. So I'd like to talk about the paper quality first, just because that's what I originally like to look at first, I guess, when you're reviewing a sketchbook, is the paper, obviously. So the texture, it's a little bit in between the Fabriano Artistico hot pressed paper and the Arches 300-pound cold press paper. So it's like an in-between. I wouldn't say it's the roughest paper out there, but it has a very nice texture to it. The texture is very similar to the Strathmore 400 series watercolor paper. However, this is 100% cotton. So it's not made of the wood pulp, or it's not made of a combination of the wood pulp like the other Strathmore watercolor sketchbook I have, the Jaws one. I don't know if you've seen that tutorial or not, but I've been working in that sketchbook for about 3 years. And I really do enjoy that sketchbook. However, when you tend to layer a lot or really disrupt the surface of the paper, it tends to kind of like shed and like dissolve. So you have these little itty bitty pieces of paper like all over your sketchbook, and then once you start to take off the top layers of the paper in that sketchbook, it it makes the paint settle different, and it's not like meant for serious artwork, but it's very nice for sketching. This, however, has the 100% cotton paper in it, which I was really excited about when Strathmore came out with this, because I did like the texture of the other sketchbook, but I obviously didn't like the fact that my paper was kind of like deteriorating while I was working. So anyway, back to the impressions of this paper, which is in fact 100% cotton. I'm not sure how many times I can say that, but I just wanted to be clear that this Strathmore sketchbook has definitely 100% cotton and acid-free paper in it. The texture of the paper was really nice, and it definitely, it worked really well with my paints. I felt like my paints got a very nice saturation in with the paper and the piece and everything. And I did try a few mediums. So I obviously sketched in pencil. I did some watercolor work, and I brought in some colored pencil to go on top of this for some details in the eye and a little bit in the feathers and whatnot. And then I brought in some gouache for the lighter feathers and the fluffier pieces that I couldn't quite get with the watercolor. And then I brought in some gold ink. Now, I don't know officially how ink washes are going to work on this paper, but I'm very curious to find out, because I'm obviously going to keep using this. So I will definitely keep you guys posted on that. But all in all, I would have to say that the paper definitely did well for me. I really enjoyed working on this, and in this sketchbook, it laid nice and flat. Now, was it the best paper I've ever worked on? No, but it was pretty high quality for a sketchbook. So for the paper quality rating, I'm going to have to give it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, so let's move on to the price. Okay, so for the 5x8 with 20 pages, currently right now is $15.33 on Amazon. It does have it to where it used to be $23.99. So the price point is a little high for this sketchbook, especially for it only being 20 pages. However, I really enjoyed working in this sketchbook, and if you're like me and you really enjoy something and it fits all your needs, you don't really care how much it costs. So, I mean, it might be a little steep for what you get, but I am a big believer that in the enjoyment of use is a little bit more important. And if it's something that you're going to find yourself using all the time, that it's obviously worth the money. Versus having a really nice hardcover sketchbook that you're afraid to work in. So for the price portion of this, I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars because it is a little bit more expensive for the amount of pages that you get. But if you enjoy working on it, then it's worth it. So let's move on to the durability part of this review. And I'm not sure if I should have put this in the durability section or if I should have put it in the paper quality section, because I don't really blame it on the paper, more as the binding. And the only problem that I really had with the sketchbook is when paint sat in the center of the page down the crack where the binding was, the stitch binding, it did end up leaking through a little bit. And I could possibly see where this eventually might become a problem with the durability of the sketchbook, and it might start to fall apart on you. However, I didn't really think of it as kind of like a bleed through because it seeped through the center holes of where it was binded. So I'm putting this in the durability section of the sketchbook review just because I don't really think it's the paper that's flawed, because on the other side of the owl there was no bleed through whatsoever. So it is a durability thing. But for that con, I also have a pro. And the pro is that because the sketchbook isn't very fancy and it's very durable and soft cover, you're not afraid to work in it. You're not afraid to experiment. You're not afraid to mess it up. And it's very, very freeing. And I honestly cannot explain how excited I was about this. I thought it was so cool. Like I immediately, as soon as I opened this up and I was finally able to try the sketchbook after having it for so long, I was so excited to work in it. And I ended up like flexing the binding of it and just kind of like flipping through the pages and stretching it out. Like I wasn't afraid that I was going to mess this sketchbook up, which I feel like is really important, especially if you have that you're afraid of the first page of your sketchbook kind of thing. And I also feel like this is the sketchbook that I would grab and put in my bag, and I'm not afraid to work in it outside. I would take it with me everywhere because it's so small and compact that it's easy to take with you. So for durability, I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so let's talk about page count, which I do feel like is the biggest flaw of the sketchbook. And I originally bought this sketchbook because I thought it would be great for Inktober. And I ended up having to use another sketchbook because there wasn't enough pages in it. So, like for the price and the amount of pages, it's a little steep for the amount of pages you get, but the paper quality is nice. And I do feel like ease of use is great also. So, in all honesty, I have to be fair. I do wish there was more pages in the sketchbook. So for the page count portion of this review, I'm going to have to give it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Partly because I feel like a lot of artists do monthly drawing challenges to where they complete a drawing every day for a month. There's a lot of 30-day challenges out there, and I feel like this sketchbook would be perfect for them, except for the fact that there's not enough pages. It's a shame, really, because I do feel like this would be the perfect Inktober sketchbook. Okay, so let's move on to the enjoyment of use. And this is kind of like the rave part the rave part of this review, because I had so much fun working in this thing, and I can picture myself filling this one up before I touch any of my others. And it's because it's so much fun to use, and you're, like I said, you're not afraid to screw this book up. It's not so meticulously made, and it's not hardcover, so everything doesn't have to be a beautifully done piece. You could easily do a little bit of everything in here, and if you end up with a really nice painting on accident, that's great. But like, there's no pressure, and I love that no pressure feeling of a sketchbook, and I feel like that's what they're supposed to be. And so with having said all of that and went through the specs and everything, I have to admit that I think I found the perfect sketchbook for me. Honest to God, I cannot tell you how much fun this was. I love this sketchbook so much. And in all honesty, the only bummer is that there's not enough pages in it. If it was 30 pages, this would be, without a doubt, the perfect sketchbook. So if Strathmore, if you're listening to us, please make us a 30-page sketchbook just like this, because I would buy only these sketchbooks. And honestly, I know I have a crap ton of sketchbooks that I need to fill up right now, but if I'm not buying anymore, but when I do buy a sketchbook, I'm going to be buying these, and I'm probably going to be buying the 7x10 also, because this was so much fun. I love this sketchbook so much. It's so freeing as an artist to find a tool that you absolutely enjoy, and I absolutely love this. Obviously, this is just my opinion, and all of your art supplies are basically user preference or personal preference, but in all honesty, I think I found myself the perfect sketchbook. You know, it's a little like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Like, the sketchbook is just right. All right, so let's get into the review of enjoyment of use. And for this section, I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars. It would be a little sad if I didn't. So to sum everything up. Okay, so let's sum everything up, shall we? As stated before, these are specifically my opinions and my opinions only. Yours obviously may be different. But I rated the paper quality 4 out of 5 stars, and the price 3.5 out of 5 stars, and durability 3 stars. The page count was the only bummer here, so it was 2.5 out of 5 stars, and the enjoyment of use was obviously a 5 out of 5 stars for me. And as I stated before, I think I officially found the perfect sketchbook. And now let's head on into the money shots. I am curious to know if you have tried the sketchbook before and what you thought about it. So if you could leave that in the comments below, that would be great. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.